Hello class, today we're learning about linear regressions, simple linear regressions. And basically what we're learning today is basically what you have learned already in high school in grade 10. What you learn is that the equation of y equals mx plus b. And now the only difference is that now we have different notation for the y equals mx plus b equation. What we have is that it used to be your slope. Your slope used to be m. This was your slope. Now we're just denoting it as beta 1. Your beta 1 is your slope coefficients. And then same for your y-intercept. Y-intercept used to be your b. Now we're denoting it as beta 0 as your y-intercept. Okay, and what we're trying to do here is that we're trying to use x to help us predict y. Okay, so x is the independent variable. X is what we use. And then what we're trying to predict is the y. So y is what is the dependent variable. Y is what we want to predict. What we want to predict. And the method that we're going to use to help us create this regression line is called the least square method. And basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to minimize the sum of the square difference between the y and the y hat. So your y is your observed value. That's your y, that's your observed value, that's your blue dot. That's your blue dot. And then your y hat is your predicted value. Okay, so y hat is the red line there. Okay, so blue dot is the observed value, and the y hat is your predicted value. And what we're trying to do is that we're trying to minimize the sum of the square difference between the y and the y hat. So we're trying to minimize the sum of the square difference between the observed and the predicted. That's what we're trying to do. Okay, so when we're minimizing the sum of the square difference between the observed and the predicted, what we're trying to do is we're trying to minimize the gap. So the gap between the observed value and the predicted value. So for each blue dots, for each observed value, we have a corresponding red line, right? So for each of these blue dots, we have a gap between the blue dot and the red line. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to minimize the overall gap